gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, Frankie Janish, and the host of the Schmoedown Rundown, Brad Gilmore.
What's up, Movie Trivia Schmoedown fans? Welcome to the Schmoedown Rundown, the official episode of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. My name is Brad Gilmore, but you might know me by another name. You might know me as the Return of the Hat, the Boat, hashtag best of all time, hashtag Brad's Opinion True, hashtag Boat Life, hashtag I'm on a boat. And Frank Janish, the only reason I've been without the hat for so long is I didn't know where I put it, and it happened to be behind this backdrop, and I found it today. Welcome into the man who's been on secret missions and marathons. His name is Frank Janish in Chicago, Illinois. Frank, more exciting, the Star Wars marathon or the spectacular?
How dare you? How dare you make me make a decision on that? More exciting. No, I'm not doing this game. I'm not playing this one. I'm not. I'm just not. Look.
All right. New game.
Yeah.
Mary F. Kill, Christian Harloff, Dagnino Kaiser.
Okay, I would marry Kaiser.
Really?
Marry Kaiser.
Okay.
Yeah. I would F Dagnino, and I'd kill Christian.
You kill Christian. Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I want to take over the Schmoedown. Don't you know?
Okay. I see. There's an ulterior motive there. Okay. Well, I appreciate your honesty in that. Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. We had a double stacked show for you last week. We had an hour and a half breakdown of the Schmoedown Spectacular in totality. And then after the show aired to the public on the SEN YouTube channel on Tuesday, we also dropped a special 45-minute interview with Ben the Boss Bateman. We're trying to get that extra content in before the Christmas and New Year's breaks. We're going to have a show in between those holidays, but we just want to get some extra stuff out there. And Frank Janish, let's talk about it real quick, man. You and I held it down for about, I think it was like 47 minutes is how long the pre-show was. What did you think? Did you watch any of it?
That seemed, yeah, I did. 47 minutes? That seems too long. That's like 40 minutes too long, I think. But I thought it was good. Oh, your stuff was good.
Your stuff was good too, Janish. You didn't like your stuff?
I just watched your stuff. I don't know. I didn't watch it. I didn't want to know. So I just watched your stuff. That's it. Yeah.
Well, I will say that you did great as well. I was like, look at Janish. You know, hosting, holding the microphone, doing it the right way. It was good. It was good, man. So we're talking today, though, about hold on. Someone texted me saying they're so upset. We're talking today about the draft, the Schmoedown draft that's going to be going down January the 11th, live from the world famous Comedy Store, which Frank Janish, you talk about hosting. You and I are going to be doing something at the draft. I'm not like super clear as to what, but I think that we're going to be like the draft experts.
We'll find out like 5 minutes beforehand, and that's plenty of time to prep. So, we'll be good to go.
It definitely is. Well, there's all these comparisons from Schmoedown to wrestling, and every time I go to a live event, like I'm reminded of that. Yeah. Because wrestling, it's like literally you show up to the building, and it's like, hey, does anybody know what I'm doing today? Oh, no. We'll figure it out. Cool. And then, like, the TV taping starts at 6, and it's like 5:30. It's like, hey, so any, like, clarification on what exactly you need? Give me a couple more minutes. I'll figure it out. All right, cool. And then, like you said, it's like 5 minutes before. Hey, say this, and this. All right, man, got it. Cool. Let's run. And then that's somewhat how the Schmoedown Live runs. I mean, actually, I will say there's a better outline than any wrestling show I've ever been a part of for the Schmoedown Live. I mean, at least I know the order of events. I just don't always know specifically what I need to be doing, but we figure it out, Frank. We figure it out.
I think we've been doing it for a little bit, so we can kind of figure out what's needed. It's not like a huge, like we're running with our heads cut off. It's not one of those deals.
Yeah, I mean, we know our roles enough to figure it out. And so we're going to figure it out come draft day. But what I find interesting, Frank Janish, is there's another show on this network, on SEN, called Schmoedown Backstage. And from time to time, Christian breaks some big news on the show. And there were a couple huge pieces of news that went down. And I think the first one we should address before we get to the draft is the undercard for the New York live event has been announced. And it happens to tie in with the Houston live event that went down earlier this year, which was Ben Bateman. When he won that match, he got the ability to pick Andrew Guy's next singles opponent. And he went throughout almost the entire season without cashing it in. And before year 2019 comes to a close, he made the announcement on the Schmoedown Backstage show where he says that Andrew Guy's next opponent is going to be Robert Meyer Burnett. And they're going to be going one-on-one. Andrew Guy versus Robert Meyer Burnett. The grudge match of all grudge matches is going to be going down in January in Brooklyn. Frank Janisch, your immediate reaction?
I like the matchup. I like it a lot. But then my mind also, how does this work in terms of point system and we have managers playing? But before I get into any of that, I do like this matchup because at the end of Spectacular, or towards the end of Spectacular, we had that video from Andrew Guy, and now he's dealt with Ben Bateman, he's dealt with the Horseman last year, beat Who's the Boss and all that. Yeah, he suffered a loss to Ben in Houston, but before that, Andrew Guy and Drew Mcweeny, they took down Ben Bateman and Tom Dagnino. It's been a whole thing, so he kind of has squashed that in a sense. But now he's turned his sights on Robert Meyer Burnett, and he's out to get him. So I like that this is the first match in Andrew Guy's quest to eradicate Robert Meyer Burnett, if you will. I also think it's interesting that Ben Bateman decided to do this because he says, look, if Andrew Guy loses this match, I don't ever have to worry about the guy again because he loses to Robert Meyer Burnett. You saw how he played against Tom Dagnino. I mean, so with that said, I still don't think Andrew Guy is going to lose to Robert Meyer Burnett at all, which, plenty of people said, I don't think Dan Morrell's going to lose to Andrew Guy. So who knows what the hell is going to happen in New York for that match. But if I'm a betting man, I would obviously bet on Andrew Guy. So that's kind of where I stand on it, and I'm looking forward to Robert Meyer Burnett going on with Mikeless 30-minute rants.
That's what I was going to say. How smart is it to allow Robert Meyer Burnett a stage with microphones in front of people? I don't know how smart of a choice this is.
Don't give him a microphone. We're in a smaller space. He's not even going to need one. Actually, at that point, a microphone for Robert Meyer Burnett in that theater, the one in Brooklyn that we started last year within, that's overkill to give him a mic at this point, if you ask me.
What a great theater. I love that
place.
Theater. I think that, obviously, the Texas City World Gym Arena is like my home court, but out of all the other places, I really, really like that arena in Brooklyn a whole lot, man. It was a really dope theater. Here's my question, though. Is Ben Bateman a face?
No.
He's not a face.
I don't think so.
He's not a fan favorite. He's not a good guy.
He has, tendencies where he's paying, respect to all his players, but then you see him in matches. I don't know. Well, because I guess, would you judge how does he act towards other faces? Is he kind of
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's just typically, okay.
But you can be a face and go after the bad guy and kind of have some sort of heel tendencies.
Yeah, sometimes.
But if you're a face and you're playing another face character, are you still pulling those same heel tendencies? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes in wrestling, we say this thing, if I'm a commentator, I don't need to know if you're a heel or babyface before the match because when you come out, I should be able to tell in about 10 seconds, exactly which one you are, right? And when you apply that rule to the Schmoedown, it gets a little bit more complicated because there's so many kind of on the fence tweener kind of people. For instance, Paul Preston and the movie guys are supposed to be heels, but also I find myself rooting for them, which I shouldn't if they're supposed to be heels, right?
Right.
Looney Bin, same thing. You find yourself rooting for them when it's I'm not super clear on which way they're supposed to be. And I guess Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy now inhabit the same kind of place in the movie Trivia Schmoedown. I don't know if Ben Bateman's a good guy. I like Ben Bateman, but do I? I don't know. I don't know if I like Ben Bateman. Like, I like Ben Bateman. I don't know if I like Ben Bateman. And the same thing with Andrew Guy. Like, Andrew Guy I like. And then when you see his promo at the Spectacular, you're like, oh, he just turned. But then I'm not sure if he turned. And then I'm thinking, all right, well, what's Ben's motivation if they're both faces? Normally when two faces turn face, they both face up together. And they're cool. So I'm like a little confused.
The thing with like heels in the league is that, like, right, you're supposed to like hate those characters. The only characters I've really ever truly hated was the characters of Andrew Guy as a heel. Obviously, I really hated that character, but it was like a love-hate. I love to hate that guy. Like,
right.
Damn, he's so good as a heel, but man, I fucking hate him. And same thing with Kalinowski. He was more frustrating and more than anything, and I kind of like hated that he frustrated me. So it was a different type of heel. And when you look at movie guys, for example, that you brought up, they're very kind of like douchebaggery kind of stuff, which I find funny. So now I'm kind of endeared to that. So it's hard for me to see them as a full-on type of heel character when I find but I guess technically they are. But I
it's like
understand
Kevin
your
Smith.
point. Yeah,
like, where's Kevin Smith?
Yeah.
I don't know. And I think that, and here's the thing, is as the Schmoedown becomes more sport than wrestling, right? Especially with the draft, like, the Golden State Warriors for the last 5 years have been the biggest heels in the world to me and to pretty much every other person outside of Golden State. But in Golden State, they're the biggest faces of all time. Right. And so I think that that's what we're going to see with teams. People are going to be rooting for favorite teams, and it's not necessarily individuals who are going to be good or bad. It's going to be, what's the storyline for the team? What's the rap on the team? Oh, they have all, like, right now, the Finstock Exchange, for all intents and purposes, should be hated by every other team in the league. So if you're supporting the Fife Club or the what Usual Suspects or what have you, or the Rockstars, you should not like the Finstock Exchange for the amount of talent that they have.
They're the Miami Heat. Like the 2010 when they put together.
Man, they're the Warriors. They're for sure the Warriors with Kate.
Well, I mean, in terms of like they're together and they're like everyone hates them.
Right.
Like the Warriors, a different story because they was all drafted and blah blah blah, and they became what they became. Whereas the Heat, they were pieced together from across the league. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also Pat Riley. It's like.
Right.
Tom Dagnino is Pat Riley. I mean, it's just somehow he makes things happen, But what I also want to say is I'm kind of beyond the point of, is this person a face? Is this person a heel? Either I like rooting for you or I don't like rooting for you, and that's how I'm going to look at it. Just because of all the nuances and like is this all the people? Because a lot of people I find personally are in between. They play both sides depending on who they're going after, and it's just like I'm kind of tired of trying to figure out who's an actual heel, who's an actual face. I'm just like, I like rooting for you because of how you portray yourself, and if that has some quote unquote dark side qualities, if you will. Then so be it. But I just like rooting for you. So I don't know, my root, because evil is from a certain point of view.
Yeah.
So
no, I mean I get it, and that's kind of why I brought it up. And I think that going into next season, we're going to be seeing more of just team loyalty, brand loyalty, right? It's almost like when, to go back to wrestling terms, it's almost like when WCW and ECW invaded the WWE. Suddenly, if you were a WWE guy, you were automatically cheered for if you were a fan of the WWE. You know what I mean? By the crowd. But if you were a WCW person or an ECW person, you know what I mean? Like, there was just a team mentality about everything. And it didn't matter if while you were on the roster, you were a face or a heel. The fans cheered for you according to which team they liked the most. I hope that makes sense to the people at home, because I didn't mean to over-explain that at all. Now, the other thing, as I look out my window and see multiple police cars pulling up to my neighbor's house, that's concerning. I don't know what's going on out there. It's very.
Did we say something wrong about?
I don't know. Like I'm worried that they're gonna come knock on my door and stop the broadcast. I'm sorry, I got distracted. The other thing that we have to talk about though is this draft. Now on the Schmoedown backstage show, Christian Harloff had Ben Bateman. He had Breanne Chandler, and he had Sam Levine. Sam Levine was, of course, revealed to be the 10th manager at the Schmoedown Spectacular. And the main purpose of the show was two things. They were going to announce everybody who was in the draft pool, which, by the way, it is an extensive list of names. I mean, I'm talking about 160 names or something like that, 180.
Right.
How you and I are on there, I don't know if there's that many people. I mean, come on, man. Give me a break.
We could have just been on the list just for fun.
Like, just put me in the pool so you can claim me on the waiver wire if you need to.
Exactly. Just to say.
But that was one part that they needed to do is announce the names who are going to be in the draft. But the more important thing was to announce the order. Now, we knew a couple things going into it. We knew that no matter where Bobby Gucci, a.k.a. Tom Dagnino, a.k.a. Finstock, was in the order, he wouldn't be going until the 5th round because he's keeping Ben Bateman, which with Ben Bateman being a part of Who's the Boss, they're a protected team, and he's keeping the Founding Fathers. That's 4 picks, so his first 4 rounds are completely filled up, so he's not going to the 5th round, and we also know that he can switch picks with either Emma or Kaiser. So those were 2 things to remember going into it. And, of course, Kaiser, having won with Kevin Smets, was obviously going to keep Kevin Smets. At least I'm assuming that he's keeping Kevin Smets. Therefore, he wouldn't be going into the following round either. Okay. So with that in mind, Christian began to reveal the draft order. And just as Winston Marshall got the number 1 overall pick in the 2020 Schmoedown draft, that pick went away rather quick because as we started going down the line, you could tell, it looked like, Roxy Stryer was going to get the last pick for the Rock Stars. And then Christian Harloff realized during a live broadcast that he didn't put her name in the hat.
Conspiracy. It's a conspiracy.
No, it's not a conspiracy. It's not a digital wheel.
Not, but it is.
But it was hilarious. Like, I know he felt like the biggest dope, and we've all been there before. But I was watching it live, and when he was like, and he paused, I was like, oh my God, he forgot somebody. He forgot Roxy. He forgot and then, he reveals that he forgot Roxy. And he had his glasses on, so I don't know what his excuse really is other than he just forgot. So they had to redo the entire draft order. Now, I do remember it was like Winston 1, Shannon 2, Sam 3. Yeah. That's what I remember. And then it changed.
I think I got it somewhere, actually. Hold on. It's let's see when I got it. It's actually number 1 was Winston. Number 2, hold on a second here, was Shannon. Number 3 was Sam Levine. Number 4 was Kaiser. 5 was Coy. 6 was Jay. 7 was Emma. 8 was Dagnino. And I think that's when they realized, wait a minute, there's only one more name in here, and it's Robert Meyer Burnett, and we haven't talked about Roxy. So
right,
yeah.
So that was the original order, and then they redrafted. The order came out, and this is what it was. It was Sam Levine, number 1 for The Usual Suspects. Jay Washington for Heroes and Villains. It was Roxy Stryer for the Rock Stars. It is Coy Jandrew for, now he's the Mouthy Mercs, right?
Yeah, the Mouthy Mercs.
I just want to make sure I got it right. Kaiser for the Dungeon. Dagnino for the Finstock Exchange. And number 7 was Shannon for Corruption. 8 was Winston for Swag. And number 9 was Emma for the 5 Club. And, of course, number 10 was Robert Meyer Burnett for the Burning Droogs. And those were your 1 through 10. That was the order. So, once again, we knew that Dagnino was not going to go in the first round. And Kaiser actually got the number 5 pick, so he's going to pick before Dagnino. He's not going to go in the first round, but Dagnino now has that pick swip where he can move up in the draft and
just
switch.
One spot, though.
Just one spot, but one spot can determine a lot, and I'm going to get into why I think that is. So what Frank and I both did is we wrote out the 10, managers in their order, and then we both tried to hypothesize on how the first round of the draft will go. So, Frank, should you go first, or you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
You'll go first? Okay, so this is going to be Frank Janish's, predicted order. Now, I will say this with the caveat. With Frank going first, his draft order is probably going to be closer to what actually happens. The Boat's draft order is what he would like to see happen. So, Frank, I'm going to throw it to you first.
Okay, so with the first pick Winston Marshall is picking.
Oh, no,
Wait,
Sam Levine.
Nope.
Sam
Nope,
Levine. Sam Levine.
I'm so sorry about that. Jeez.
Yeah, it just.
That's right. They had to do it over again. That's right. Boy. All right. So Sam Levine, the first pick. I have him predictably taking the family at number 1 overall. Mcweeny, guys. That's his first 2 rounds locked up between Drew McWeeny and Drew Guy. I like that because
his first 2 rounds are locked up. Just explain. His first 2 rounds are going to be locked up because the family is a protected team. So when you take one member of the team, both of them come.
Right. Top 5 protected team, so you have to take both. And I like this because it would reunite above the line in a sense with obviously Sam Levine and Drew McWeeny. And Sam Levine could hopefully, get a belt for Drew, because Sam retired and Drew had to relinquish it. So I do it for that purpose. However, I actually would like it if Sam did not draft the family. I think it would make it for a little more interesting year in terms of storyline. But I think with Sam now having the number 1 pick, it kind of almost forces him in a way for that situation to happen. Because if he doesn't, poor Linus Babcock out there, I don't know what he's going to do. He's
Where is
really
Linus?
mad at Sam. I don't know. I think he's off doing school and stuff. So good for him, though.
Long showers.
Stay in school. Stay in school. Don't do drugs. All that. So I would be really surprised if Sam Levine did not pick the family as his number 1 pick and second pick. Also because the family is going to be has a pretty short road in terms of a team title shot, which is something that, obviously you want to win as a manager for your team. And obviously for Sam to get Drew McWeeny back to a spot as a title holder, that would be pretty poetic in a sense.
Okay. Now, do you want to go ahead to your number 2 or you want me to give you my number 1?
You go to number 1.
Should we do this like the top 10 does their show? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Mine, which is still confusing to me. No offense, Roger. My number 1 pick. So, and when I'm thinking about Sam Levine, this is what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about, I am a manager now. I'm a coach of this team. I want to have a winning team, and I want to pick somebody who I know is going to play plenty of matches and have the highest likelihood of winning them. And when I say plenty of matches, I just don't mean in singles. I mean singles and teams. I want somebody who can play in at least both those divisions and is going to be playing frequently in both of those divisions. And when you think of a player who plays frequently and likes to play often and does so in both singles and teams, I believe that Sam Levine, if he were smart, which I'm not saying that he isn't, but I'm not saying that he is either, if he were smart, the number 1 overall pick in the first ever, the inaugural 2020 Schmoedown draft would be William the Beast Bibbiani. This is a guy who had a banner year for himself. Back-to-back MVP in the free-for-all, was a question away from beating Dan Murrell in that event. He beat Roca and Ethan Irwin in a triple threat match. Oh, there goes my gimmick over there. He beat Roca and Murrell in a triple threat match. He went on a fantastic run in the Ultimate Schmoedown tournament, almost winning the whole thing, almost winning the teams tournament with his newly formed team of Shazam. And let's not forget, he had a championship opportunity at those team titles earlier in the year against the Shire Wolves with critically acclaimed. This is a guy who is a well-rounded player. And if you look at statistics, if you look at knowledge, and somebody who's going to be available on that draft board, I think it would be foolish to not pick William the Beast Bibbiani. Therefore, you get Brendan the Kid Minor.
It's the same thing.
Brendan, I guess that's the same thing. You get Brendan the Kid Meyer, a.k.a. the fine, young, tenderoni on your team, and your 1 and 2 is locked up. And here's the thing for Jets, I think I get his allegiance. I get his allegiance to his guy, Drew McWeeny, but who do you get more use out of? Drew McWeeny has almost exclusively competed in teams. I mean, I feel like he's only been in teams. Whether it be, what was it? It's not hide the cannoli. What was it? Where's the cannoli?
Take the cannoli.
Take the cannoli. I'm sorry.
Have you seen the movie, where they take the cannoli, but they leave the gun,
Hide the cannoli is a whole different thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's...
Did not mean to say that.
Yeah.
Oh man, but he's been mainly a team guy, and then when you think about Andrew Guy, it's like, yeah, sure, he's this magnetic personality within the movie TV Schmoedown, but outside of the family, he hadn't had the greatest year in singles, and a somewhat embarrassing loss in Houston where Ben Bateman spun again on Spinner's Choice just to make the match more interesting. So I think that you get more run out of Shazam as your number one pick.
So
Bibiani, that is.
Yes, I would 100% agree with everything you said. That's why I kind of don't want Sam to take the family for that reason, because I think Shazam is a better package overall, because both Brendan Meyer and William Bibiani play in teams, play in singles at high levels. Drew McWeeny, one of the best team players of all time. Also he's a solid singles player. He's had luck in singles division play, but that can always turn on a dime for you. I mean, look at Bibiani. He was having bad luck all the time, and then before you know it, he had the title, and then he had another shot this year at Spectacular and all that stuff, right? Had a great tournament run. So it can turn around for you real quick, and I think that's certainly very, very possible for Drew McWeeny. When you look at Andrew Guy, he is a great teammate. He's a great number two for you if he's on your team. He's not going to be the guy that leads the charge, if you will, but he's a solid team player, and that doesn't translate well to consistent singles play. However, this scenario could work out for Sam Levine by taking the family, because if Andrew Guy were to play more in singles, let's just say if that was going to happen, he's going to be starting on the lower end of things. And the lower end type of competition might suit him well to overcome those opponents and get the W's, get your faction, your manager, those points. So it's not about can Andrew Guy win you a singles title. It's can he get you wins in the matchups that he could be getting if he's at the lower end of the rankings. If he's playing 18, 17, 16 seeded players, is he better than them? Can he beat them? Probably. But once you start getting to the top 10 rankings, I don't think Andrew Guy is really going to have I mean, he'll have a shot for sure, but like the odds dwindle, and so it's like, can you get Sam Levine as the manager? Can you get Andrew Guy those lower ranked matches that he could probably have a very good shot at winning? So there will be some finagling, I guess, if you will, with trying to get certain matches for a player like Andrew Guy like that. But with Bibiani and Shazam, obviously the ceiling's much higher with Brendan Meyer contending for titles in both divisions, and that's huge, and that's why, honestly, I think probably William Bibiani is the number one ranked player in the draft, if only because of one thing that Mike Kalinowski said. If he got drafted by Roxy Striar, he would not play for her. He would demand a trade. He's not going to just do that for Roxy. He's going to do that for whoever drafts him until he ends up with corruption and Shannon as his manager. Therefore, his value, yes, technically you could say he's like the number one player, but by saying that stuff, you're not as valuable. You're only valuable to Shannon and not to anybody else. So in my eyes, you can't be the number one overall player in the draft. You could be, I guess, number one overall in the entire league, sure. But when it comes to the draft, why would I draft you number one if you're just going to demand a trade to Shannon, who's at number 7? You know,
I mean that's a good point, and we'll get more into Mike here in a minute. But let's go to the number 2 pick. Now I also want to say that trades are on the table. Christian Harloff said also everyone needs to have 8 people on their roster. It's down from 10 to 8. You're going to draft 8 competitors, but I think that he said you need at least 7 on the roster at any time. So I don't know exactly. You know, I guess if somebody drops out,
is it 6 or 7? I thought he said 6.
Did he say 6? Right. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. I think it's 6. I think it's 6. But those are going to become more clear. I think, you know, post draft we're going to really understand more about that. But I will say, you know, any major trades, any like pick swaps, anything like that, they need to be approved by the league before they become official. Now that is something that I've also played around with, and I guess I before you get to your number 2 pick. Do you think it's possible for somebody like Tom Dagnino, who doesn't get to go into the 5th round, is it possible for him to put together some sort of package to move up in the draft other than his just pick swap? I mean, because here's the thing. There are going to be a lot of people who are undrafted, right? Which means the waiver wire is going to be plentiful. So you can always fill your roster with people who go undrafted. So do you trade, let's say say Dagnino says, hey, Coy, I'll give you my 5th, 6th, and 7th round pick for your 2nd round pick. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, would that be advantageous for somebody to do? Like, I'm just asking.
I don't think so because, and we were talking about this with Ben Bateman. You know, superstars in this league, there's not, in comparison to the NBA, like there's actually not that many in the Schmoedown where you're like, I'm getting some guaranteed wins here, or I'm getting a guaranteed contender at a title. Once you get past like round, let's see, I've done like a mock draft of like the first 4 rounds. Once you get past round 3,
you're looking for
in terms of proven players, right? In terms of proven players, that list evaporates after the 3rd round. In terms of proven players, people that have played before, I can't comment on incoming rookies who have never played, even if they played in the families, because coming into the Schmoedown, different animal than playing matches over Skype. It just is, and so I'm not going to talk about those fan leaguers or other rookies that put their name in the hat or put their name on the list to be incoming rookies who've never played in front of a studio audience before. Just completely different animal compared to whatever they may have been doing or not doing at all. So, like I said, though, after the 3rd round, it's going to be interesting to see who managers pick because, like I said, proven players after that point, it dries up real quick. And now you're looking at players who may have played before, but they've played like 1 or 2 matches over the course of the past 3 years. And so sample size is very small, not really sure what they're capable of. So in that case, if you're a manager, then you got to do some homework on those quote-unquote lower-ranked players, if you will. But that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other thing. So you're saying that it wouldn't be – you don't think that Tom – knowing how great he is at maneuvering the system, you call him the Pat Riley of the movie trivia Schmoedown. You don't think that he could figure out a way to go earlier than the 5th round?
I don't know why anyone would want to help Tom. I don't know why. Because he already has everything.
And the thing is, he can't trade any individual players. Not that he would, because they're all protected teams. All 4 of his players are in protected teams.
They're tied together. Exactly. Yeah. He couldn't, Riley's the only one who doesn't have a belt. It's not like he can ship Riley somewhere.
And that's what I was thinking about, and it's no disrespect to Mark Riley, but I'm thinking, okay, out of your roster that you have, who's the most tradable guy and who could you get the most value out of? And that would be Mark Riley. But if you trade Mark Riley, you trade Ben Bateman, who's a singles champion and just went on this epic run. So, I mean, he's 10-5 now after starting out 5-5 before the tournament. So, I mean, this is a guy who was a 500 player who's now well above that. And you don't want to lose him either. So it is weird. I just wanted to know if anyone was going to, if you think that anyone would try anything like that. Maybe not even with Dagnino. Maybe with Kaiser. I don't know. I always love the idea of trading picks. I come from Houston, Texas, where Daryl Morey is the general manager of the Houston Rockets, and he's always trading draft picks for talent and for trying to move up in the draft. So I think more like Daryl Morey.
Yeah. I think trading picks would be great, but it's not like you're adding to an established roster, these managers. They don't have established rosters. The only one who does is Dagnino.
That's why I was thinking about him
so
trading
it's like,
up.
Yeah, but even still, it's just, I don't know. It's hard to trade a pick because without knowing where people are who they want to take, and you would have to know all this. I don't know.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. And this is where it really gets complicated, and I don't want to talk over anybody's head here, but in the NBA, the NBA is where I focus on because I cover the NBA. I'm rather knowledgeable. There's salary caps, right? Mm-hmm. You can't go over a salary cap, and they do that to try to prevent buying a super team, similar to the New York Yankees. Suck it, Christian. So
I think he's doing just fine.
I think he's doing great. Garrett Cole. I mean, he lost Didi Gregorius, so I mean, I'm a little bit happy about that. But you got Garrett Cole from the Houston Astros, so once again, suck it, Christian. But should there be value assigned to players and a salary cap-esque figured out for these teams. That way you can make it fair for everybody in the league.
No, because I like that idea of it, yes, but you can't until we're actually paying people.
I'm not talking about payment. But have you ever seen? Have you ever seen? Real quick. Have you ever seen on Twitter where it's like, "Hey, pick your all-time roster," and it's like these guys are all worth 5 points. These guys are worth 4 points, 3, 2, 1, and you can only spend 10 or whatever it is. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could figure out a way, but it's just who is going to add value to players, and then you got to figure out the amount in which a manager has, and
I know, but it would make it more compelling. And I'm thinking about a sports
It would be
thing.
very interesting, but that'd be cool to implement if we could. But the other issue is scheduling. You just don't know. If you draft somebody, you just don't know if they're going to play. They may play one match. They may play 0. So it's like, are you going to waste quote-unquote salary cap space on a player that may never play, even though the promise of them is high? So
people do it all the time. Look at Kevin Durant.
For sure. But that, in terms of this game, though, it's like...
Yeah, no, I get it. Okay, so now with all that out of the way, let's go to your number 2. So Jay Washington, Heroes and Villains going number 2. Who do you got?
I think he's Villains and Heroes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Villains and Heroes. I keep saying Heroes and Villains. Sorry.
Anyway, so this is the other thing. Are managers going to go after those that they've already managed for a while? Is Jay going to take the team of Ethan Irwin and Janine?
Are they protected?
They are not a protected team, top 5 protected team, but they are quote unquote semi-protected. So Jay has the option of taking the other teammate. If he drafts Ethan first, then he has the option of taking Janine, vice versa, that way. So, and with all respect to Janine, you would take Ethan Irwin. He's a former singles champion. He's gone on runs. So I would assume Jay may go after someone like Ethan Irwin, and then to not take Janine along with Ethan Irwin, who I think is a great team. They have great promise. I mean, they played a really great game against Looney Bin and just came up short. It's just one of those things. I don't think it's indicative of a future that is dismal. I don't think that's a sign of that. So I don't see why he would not also take Janine in conjunction with Ethan. In total, I don't see why he wouldn't take Time Machine. They have a great promise. But if Sam Levine is going to take, let's say, the family, and Shazam is still on the board, how do you pass up Shazam?
Right.
So that's the other thing. Are these players going to take their friends, take the players that they've been managing before, or are they going to, because egos are involved here, friendships are involved here. It can get very messy if you decide to not draft somebody that you've been managing for a while and you have the capability to take them, even though they may not have played the best last year. I don't want to be Jay Washington in this spot because he's got to choose between possibly Shazam. He's got the pick of the litter at number 2. I mean, or does he go with people that he's been rolling with, Ethan and Janine, for the past couple of years? So I guess you would say I have him taking Time Machine, Ethan Irwin / Janine in his first and second round picks, just because it can get very messy here.
Well, no, and I think it's a smart pick. Now, I think that he definitely takes Time Machine. It makes sense for him. He's already comfortable working with them. However, and I don't mean to disrespect anybody, but I think Janine the Machine would greatly benefit under different management.
I do too.
Janine's been there. She's been so close so many times. And I think that, especially on this show this year, I've really trumpeted Janine. And I really think that she could be the next level player. She just needs better coaching. That's just my opinion. I just think that she needs better coaching. Can you imagine Janine the Machine under the expert tutelage of a Sam Levine? Or
that's what I was just thinking.
God. Or even a Roxy.
Even Roxy would be great too. I mean, Janine goes well with almost anybody in the league, but specifically, yes, player or managers like Sam or a Roxy or, let's say, I mean, she's not going to fall with Dagnino in round 5, but like even someone like that, or if she gets into a situation of faction with some very experienced, players, that could be great for Janine, and I'd be super excited to see that. But players like Coy or managers like Coy or Winston, no offense towards them, they're very fresh still, and I don't think it would service Janine to help get her reach her maximum potential. But I don't know. We'll see.
Well, for Jay Washington, like I said, I have Ethan Irwin and Janine the Machine as well. So let's go to. I want to go on my number 3 pick first because for Roxy, because it was yesterday. I was on the phone with Christian Harloff. We were talking about the draft, and then Ben Bateman calls, and so now we're on like this 3-way call talking about the draft. And then while I'm on this 3-way call with Ben Bateman and Christian Harloff, Roxy Stryer calls. And now all 4 of us are on the phone talking about the draft.
Really?
All at the same time, yes. Now, Roxy was told on the phone that she got the number 3 pick. She was very excited about it. She knew prior, and she said this was okay to share. And Christian, made sure to make note that I would share it. So this is just phenomenal. So Roxy Stryer says that she texts Mark Andreyko and Jeff Snyder, the odd couple, and says, "Hey guys, look, guess what? I got the 3rd overall pick. I'm gonna be able to take y'all. We're in the clear. We're looking good." And Jeff Snyder responds by saying, "Remember, she has the 3rd pick, right? 3rd overall pick." And Jeff Snyder responds by saying, "That's if we're still on the board."
Hey,
which is the most Jeff Snyder thing. And I was given permission to share the story, so I'm not speaking out of turn. So no one get hot. Don't shoot the messenger. But I do love that Jeff Snyder. And here's the thing: Jeff Snyder's the greatest team player of all time, individual team player of all time, if that makes sense. And he was right there at the precipice, if not for Harry Potter, of winning the singles championship this year. He should go high on the draft, no doubt about it. But when I look at Sam and Jay, I'm pretty sure I know who they're picking. So the highest that Jeff Snyder or Mark Andreyko could go is number 3. That's the highest they could go, at least in my mind. So it's just great that Jeff Snyder was like, if we're still on the board. It's just so Jeff Snyder-y, and I love it. I love Jeff Snyder. So Roxy and the Rockstars, I definitely picked. She's going to pick the odd couple, I'm assuming.
Right.
And I think everyone's assuming at number 3.
Here's the thing, too, is I don't think Sam is really too interested in playing games on draft day. Jay, I could see him trying to muddy the waters a little bit. Now, let's say he goes, look, this is a whole new era. I got to pick right before Roxy. Look, let me take the odd couple. Let's see who else she drafts later on in the this draft. Let's see who else she gets. And look, I know she wants her boys real bad. I can really, pillage, her faction if she really wants the odd couple. I can get, she's going to take 2 players. Well, I'm going to need 3 players or 4 players back. He could do it.
It's interesting that you bring this up. Because you're kind of getting me to a point that I was going to make, in my next round. Now, I'm assuming right now you have the odd couple going to Rockstars, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So Coy Jandrew is I think he's in a more interesting spot than even Jay. Because you talked about the number 1 player in the draft.
Oh, yeah.
I think Coy Jandrew. Coy, I'm talking to you right now. You need to go up on that draft stage January the 11th at the world-famous Comedy Store, and with your first-round pick, you need to draft Mike Kalinowski. Because when you draft Mike Kalinowski, he's already made it clear he wants to be on a different team. Who knows? I mean, Roxy wants her boys. Jay might switch things up, but, maybe Roxy goes, okay, I'll take Ethan and Janine. You know what? I'll work with them. I'm not married to him. I'm not married to the Odd Couple. We can make maneuvers. And the Odd Couple haven't said, hey, I'm not playing for any other team. Not like Mike Kalinowski, who says, I'm not playing for any other team except for Shannon's team, which is corruption. So if I'm Coy Jandreau, Kaiser is picking after me and Dagnino, but not in the first round, I'm taking Mike Kalinowski. And then I'm seeing who Shannon gets, which by my draft board is either going to be the family or Paul Oyama.
Yeah.
And I'm trading around. I'm going to make some moves. You know what I mean? And then and I'm going to get and I talked to Christian and Ben actually about this a little bit. This was my what I was thinking I would do if I were Coy Jandreau. And that's what I love. I love talking to Christian and especially Ben and you, because we're all so deep into this. And now that this is draft time, I'm just thinking about all these possibilities, and it's driving me crazy. But I likened it to the Anthony Davis trade in the offseason between the Los Angeles Lakers and the New Orleans Pelicans. The New Orleans Pelicans knew from the start of the season Anthony Davis wanted to be in Los Angeles. He wanted to go play with the Lakers and LeBron James. He knew that. They all knew this. So what did the New Orleans Pelicans do? They said, okay, you want to go? We're going to make LA pay for it. And they got the haul of a lifetime. They got picks. They got rookie talent. They got everything that they possibly could. They bled, the Lakers as much as they possibly could. And it was one of the longest trade announcements I've ever heard. It's like the Lakers receive Anthony Davis. The Pelicans receive Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, 75 picks in the next 23 drafts. You know what I mean? And so I think that Coy Jandreau, more than anybody, is in position to draft Mike Kalinowski and then immediately start working that night to find a trade partner. Try to find trade value with Shannon, because she's going to want him. And that's the thing. That's the thing about being so out there with who you're going to want to pick, who's not protected, is everyone, at least I would target them and say she takes the family. Okay, I'll flip, Mike Kalinowski for Drew Mcweeny and Andrew Guy. I think that's pretty good. And maybe you're going to give me also your third round pick, or your second round pick for it. You know what I mean? Like, or I guess it'd have to be the third round. So yeah, give me the family and your third round pick. I'll make that. Or, Paul Oyama, you drafted him. I'll do a 1-to-1 for Paul Oyama, Mike Kalinowski. Oh, you know what? Actually, throw in your second round pick and your third round pick.
Remember, Kalinowski and Chance, they're protected. So that's two
that's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. I forgot about that. Thank you for clarifying. So I would, but still, even then, I would draft, Mike Kalinowski and Chance Ellison. And once again, I would try to flip them for whatever I could possibly get. And I might just wait until they're all done. You know what I mean? Like, till the whole draft's done, and then say, all right, Shannon, give me half of your roster. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then when you're Coy, you can get the cream of the crop and then trim out the fat.
I was thinking about this, and I'm like, I don't know if it's worth the headache, to tell you the truth. Don't know if it's worth the headache, because the roster is at the time I said I made a post on Facebook about Kalinowski's like, he's not going to play for whoever or for Roxy, whatever. I was like, fine, just let him sit on the bench, let him not play the entire year. Don't give into his demand. That was when the roster was at 10 spots. The roster is now dropped to 8, so that makes things a little bit more interesting in terms of the kind of power that a player could have in terms of trade, because 10 spots. That means you have at least at the minimum 7 other players to manage and play, and and then you just wait for someone to give up some monster players for the Mike Kalinowski, Chance Ellison combo. But with the roster dropping down to 8 slots now, and given the spot that you would be in to take corruption, I just don't know if it's worth the headache, because you only have 8 slots, and you're going to fill going to fill 5 or 6 on draft day, right? So, what is there really to kind of bargain with? Like, to get 2 other players to fill up your 7th and 8th spot, maybe, but I don't know.
I mean, I would take. Here's the thing.
Well, because
when you're Coy, you now.
I got Coy drafting.
Okay.
in my draft board, I have Koi taking Shazam.
Okay.
So it's like, why are you going to mess around with that? And then, Kaiser, who's going to have Smets, and Dagnino, who's set till the 5th round. They're before Shannon, but after Koi. So Shannon's right after Koi. So it's like, given the fact that I think, Sam J and Roxy are all going to take who they're loyal to, have been rolling with, they're going to take those people that's not Corruption. So I still think Corruption's going to fall to Shannon at the 7th spot, which is really more like the 5th spot.
I mean, I see your logic, but here's my thing: is Koi John Drew could have the opportunity of, instead of having, a pick in each round, say like, with your top half being better than your bottom half, right? So picks 1 through 4 are going to be conceivably better than picks 5 through 8, right? They're going to be more valuable. Yeah. So what Koi could do is, he could literally be like, all right, Shannon, like, I'm going to trade you Mike and Chance and my last 2 draft picks for your top 4 draft picks. You see what I'm saying? And then you can have a better, more well-rounded roster, in my opinion. I think that's at least an option worth exploring.
Yeah, but the other thing that I'm thinking of is Mike Kalinowski, Corruption is round 1 talent, right? Mm-hmm. You need to get back round 1 talent.
Well, that's for what I'm
sure. Saying. But why are you gonna? But Koi already has access to that talent that he would kind of, I think, already be trading for. So why go through that whole process? Because once you get to round
1 through
3
4
and
talent.
4, like, yeah, but look, I think he's also going to have access to rounds 3 and 4, and he's going to be ahead of Shannon anyways.
I know, but essentially you're getting her picks and your picks.
Yeah, he'll be ahead of Shannon in round 4 or round 3. So it's like he's then trading for less than his pick for one of Shannon's higher picks. That would be, well, I guess it depends what Shannon would do in terms of she's taking round 1.
Because here's the thing: if she takes the family in round 1, which is what I have her taking, if Corruption is already drafted or Mike Kalinowski and Chance Ellison, okay, cool. Like, that's a good 1-to-1 trade. Now, if I'm Koi Jandrew, I tell her, look, we can make this trade right now after round 1 that I get your rounds 3 and 4 picks for my rounds 7 and 8. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now he gets 2 picks in a row. You know what I mean? Like he's got a better opportunity to draft a better roster. So that's why I think it's worth the headache. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I got like, I haven't really thought too much in terms of draft and trades and all those different kinds of scenarios. I've been in a 27-hour Star Wars marathon.
You. So look. We got to get through this. We got to get through this because I have a heart out. So This is how I see my 8, 9, and 10 going, and then you tell me what yours are, because I might be a little crazy. So if Shannon takes the family at number 7, which I think is possible, right? That means Paul Oyama, the 6-1 former champion of the world, falls to the 8th pick in the draft, and I think he goes to Swag. I think Winston picks up Paul Oyama, and then I think Emma picks up Tom. I think Tom is going in the first round, and I think that she picks Tom and takes Video Drew. I do. I think that she takes them both. And then that leaves Robert Meyer Burnett with the 10th pick, and this is a weird one because there's some names left on the board that I'm interested in, including a champion in Alex Damon. And then you're like, okay, well, how often is he going to play? How much is his points going to matter? Is he only going to defend the title 3 times a year? Like, is he worth a first-round pick? I know he's a champion, but is he worth the investment? And what's great about Robert Meyer Burnett is he has the number 10 pick, but he also has the number 11 pick. So he can double dip here. And so what I actually have him doing is taking Alex Damon and then coming back in round 2 and taking Mark Hanopic, because he's setting himself up to get 2 potential champions in his roster, because Mark Hanopic has a guaranteed shot. So that's how I have essentially my whole first round and the beginning of the second round going. So how do you have 8 through 10?
So I have I have Shannon or Corruption falling to Shannon, but then after that I do have Holiyama going with Winston at that point. This one I kind of went back and forth between Emma taking Tom, the Looney Bin, or taking Crimson Fury. Crimson Fury aligns a lot more with the motives and the visuals of the Five Club. Now that Grace Hancock's there, Emma, so it aligns that way. But the smart play here would be to take the loony bin with Tom and Video Drew. So I'm kind of mixed on that. With Robert Meyer Burnett, I have him taking Paul Preston at number 10, and then he could take Alon Harris for his very next pick, and now you got that team of Paul Preston and Alon Harris, which I think can do a lot of damage. Now, however, I do like the prospect of Robert Meyer Burnett taking a Mark Knopik with his first pick, and then taking a duo with his first second round pick, because now he's clear until the fourth round. He's actually in a pretty great spot at number 10. Everyone laughs he got the last pick. He's actually probably in the best spot of all for the way this draft is working. Because if, let's say,
aside from the number 1 pick, I somewhat agree with you, just with the possibilities that he has. Because since it is a snake draft, he gets to go right after his first pick. So
he takes Mark Knopik at 10, and let's say then he could take a strong team like Paddington 2. We could even take Crimson Fury, or you could take, like, if Crimson Fury, Looney Bin, and Paddington 2, so one of them could be available for his first pick in that second round. He could take any one of them, and he will be clear until that fourth round, which is when things get a little dried up at that point. So he won't have to worry about figuring out round 3. I think that's exactly what he's got to do.
I think that's really smart. I like yours more than I like mine, but I still think that Alex Damon. So where does Alex Damon go? Somewhere in the second round? I mean, I know that he's not going to play as often, but
Emma could probably take Alex Damon in the first round with her first pick, and because she'll have the second pick in the second round, then she goes after one of those Crimson Fury, a Looney Bin, or a Paddington 2. One of those 3 could be available to her.
It's a good idea.
But Robert Meyer Burnett is in the driver's seat in terms of
how that can play out.
Emma could then also just take Mark Knopik. I think Emma and Robert Meyer Burnett are in probably the best spots right now, because they're going to have their pick of taking potential champions with their first pick that are just solo acts right now, and then in round 2, picking up a duo, a semi-protected team with their first pick in the second round.
Now, Sam Levine has to take a team with his first pick. He can't take an individual player because he's not. That means he wouldn't pick again till the 20th pick, and that's just silly. So he needs to get the first pick in the third round by drafting a team. So there's a lot of possibilities, man. Now, give me this, Frank Janisch. Now, I picked 3 players who I think in teams, who could be effective in singles and teams, Intergeekdom, and then Star Wars. I picked just 3 to the side who are going to be my 3 people you need to watch out for in the draft, because I think they're good pickups. So someone who can be good in singles and teams, we've already talked about him. I think Paul Preston is a really interesting pick for anybody in the draft. He's somebody that you should watch out for. I think he's going to go high in the second round. Now, as far as Intergeekdom division goes, you're going to go on. Intergeekdom's going to be. There's going to be a lot of people vying for that Intergeekdom championship, but only a few people who can potentially take it off Kevin Smets. That's why I think Chandru is a really great pick for somebody. If you can get him early in the second round, he's a good addition to round out your team for Intergeekdom. And as far as Star Wars goes, now I know Alex Damon is phenomenal, so you got to find somebody who has at least the knowledge to try to combat with him. We've seen what guys like, a lot of people talk about, oh man, the Sam Witwer game. Like, man, Sam Witwer, that would be great. But guess what? There's a guy who came within 1 second of beating Sam Witwer, and he's back in the league. That's Ken Knapsack. I think Ken Knapsack, if you're looking for a Star Wars player who isn't Alex Damon or Laura Kelly, Ken Knapsack is also a guy who has other movie knowledge, who might be great if you pair him up. Now, here's the thing. Ken Knapsack isn't going to be the best player on a championship team, but he can be the second best player on a championship team. Do you know what I mean? And I think that if Ken is even paired up with the right person, think about this. I think that Ken Knapsack, Paul Preston team could be good. I really do. And I think that his versatility makes him a good pickup for somebody in the mid to late second round. So those are my three people that I would look out for after this first round of action. Who are three people who come to your mind, Frank?
Ooh. Well, in terms, I think for singles, it's Paul Preston immediately comes to my mind for sure. Inner Geekdom, I think Brandon Hanna for Inner Geekdom.
That's a good one.
He is immensely pissed off about losing to Chandru. I mean, just look at the Facebook group. Any chance he gets to pop one off on Chandru, I mean, he's taking that shot, and it's pretty funny. So I think when you get that kind of motivation behind you, for Brandon Hanna, in terms of I need to put Chandru in this place because Brandon Hanna feels like he's much better than Chandru, and it just was one of those questions, one of those days where he kind of just went in favor of Chandru. I like that kind of motivation that's feeling Brandon Hanna, because with Chandru, I think he might be feeling himself a little too much.
I like it.
Right. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's how you handle it. So, but it's not if you take Chandru before Hanna, I'm not going to begrudge you. You take him before Chandru, I don't think there's really that much of it. Chandru's proven he's really good, and I think Brandon Hanna's proven he's really good. It was just, sure, he lost to Chandru, but he also did beat him prior to that. So it's not like it's inconceivable that Brandon couldn't beat Chandru. Anyways, beyond that, it'd be. I'm really interested though. Damn, I don't know. In terms of, we're talking about teams now.
Yeah, I mean, just three players that you think are people you need to watch out for.
I think. Hold on.
So Brandon Hanna, I agree with you there. Paul Preston, obviously we both agree on that one. And then who's another someone who you think is a hidden gem in the draft? Who we've seen before?
Haley Fouch.
Oh.
Haley Fouch. I would like to see her end up with the Five Club. Okay. Given the way that Emma has worked with Rachel and Clark before, to the heights that they reached, Emma's very knowledgeable. Grace Hancock is someone that can really go to bat for you. I mean, she has the way she talks to managers and other players in her promos, and just the little sidebars that you might see, happen during a match. I mean, it's devastating the word she throws at people sometimes. I'm just like, God, I don't even know how you come back from that. It's just brutal.
It is good. She's very good. Okay.
You get that kind of support around Haley Fouch. I like it a lot.
I dig that. Okay, last thing that I want to run by you, and then maybe we can do we can talk more draft as rules become clearer and things become more solidified as far as the pool of players and who we think can go where. Maybe we'll talk about that in our awards preview. But Ben Bateman floated a trade on backstage, and I just want to get your immediate reaction to it.
Yeah, what was it again?
He floated trading, get this, Dan Murrell and John Roca straight up for Kevin Smets. I think that's a wild proposition.
Because he has that much faith in himself and Riley for teams, because he's got singles wrapped up. But Merle is also playing in Inner Geekdom, so that's saying you don't think Merle can win Inner Geekdom. Right. Yeah. Which, it's a tall order in your first year of Inner Geekdom play. I mean, I don't think that's not a knock on Merle. That's just, how tough Inner Geekdom can be. Wow, is he really Smets worth?
I don't know if he is. And that's no disrespect to Smets. Maybe a 1-to-1 trade, like Roca for Smets, Dan for Smets. I could at least justify it. But both of them for Smets, I can't justify. Especially because he's Inner Geekdom and we don't know what he can do outside of it. Now,
not only that, but he's already champion. If I knew he had a long road, if he was going to play like 4 matches for sure and then get a shot at the title, it's much easier to swallow. But because Smets is already the champ and he's going to defend for sure already at New York to start off the year. If he wins that one, he probably won't defend till Collision. If he wins that one, probably won't defend until somewhere in between that time and Spectacular, and then there's Spectacular. So what? That was how many times? 5? Mm-hmm. 4 defense, right? And if he were to win all of them, and you look at a minimum of 5 points, you add in the bonus points for title matches. I mean, he's looking at another 20-point year, which is phenomenal. So yeah, maybe, but it's like,
No, that's
I don't
crazy.
know.
It's crazy. I think it's crazy.
I mean, yeah, wow.
But we'll leave you all with that one to chew on. Y'all follow everybody. Follow Frank Janish at FrankieJ29 on Twitter. And you can follow me at Brad Gilmore on all social media. Make sure you check out our SD Rundown accounts and the SD Rundown Facebook page. And don't forget to check out the cheat sheet with Frank Janish. It's on
a bit of a break, actually.
It's on a break. It's on hiatus, but it's coming back soon. And so you're going to be checking out the cheat sheet as well. We're going to be back here probably next week. Stay tuned to our Twitters. We'll announce exactly when we're going to be coming back. I think it's next week to talk about the awards and the nominations and everything. And maybe more draft stuff. So until then, he's Frank Janish. I'm Brad Gilmore. And we'll see you next week on the Schmoedown Rundown.